So I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm not going to read from the piece I wrote for the Broadside, because you can read it, it's at the back there, or maybe you'll buy one and you can read it all the time. I'm going to read from the story, Summer 1996. I'm going to read 2 sections from it, and I apologize in advance for running a little long. 1. Age, sex, location. We'd been chatting online for a few months. He went by _666. My handle was oh so subtle. During our instant message sessions, Undertow called me OSS for short. On the phone, he started calling me Oz, and he would giggle, this sinister little laugh, like a mischievous schoolgirl. When he called, I was sitting outside, leaning against the bumper of Dad's car. I'd pressed myself into the strip of shade that began where the garage door ended. A line of ants crept along in front of me, disappearing one by one into a crack. I leaned over and exhaled. A few ants skidded off their path, their antennae waving in wild circles. What was that? Undertow said. He'd been asking me how I was doing, if my father was behaving himself, if I'd seen my mom lately. Nothing, I said. It's just really hot. Why are you outside? I forgot that he couldn't hear me shrug. I said, I don't know. What are you doing today? Nothing. Just talking to you, I guess. I might go see Katie later. And where is Katie today? I don't know. She's probably at home. She was fun to talk to. The week before, Katie had cradled the phone against her shoulder with the side of her head while painting her nails this disgusting neon orange color. She made soft, honeyed sounds, but I couldn't understand any words except for baby and daddy and oh yeah. She hung up and threw the phone to me across the bed. Fucking pervert, she said. I didn't ask why she said that. I told Undertow he could call Katie if he wanted. I could give him her number. She probably wouldn't mind. He laughed. Why would I want her, he said. I've got you now. Do you look like her? Undertow said. She told me she was blonde and had freckles. No, I said. I don't look like that at all. Tell me. 16/F. I thought this would make him laugh. It didn't. I'm going to need more than that. I guess I'm short, I said. I have dark hair and dark skin. My eyes are brown. So what, you're Italian? I let him believe it. I like Italian, he said. That's cute. Over the phone, I heard something rustling around in the background. Someone asked a muffled question. Undertow made a strange noise, like he was stretching. Sorry about that, he said. And then, what's your mouth like? Something strange happened when he said that. His voice opened, deepened. There was a darkness around him. I could feel it over the phone. What? Your mouth. Is it nice? Would it feel nice on me? I don't know. The sun was high. Shafts of light filtered through the tree branches and seemed to cut into the ground underneath. The undersides of my thighs felt sticky and heavy. I bet it would, he said. Would you like that? Would you like that if your mouth was on me? Amelia, what are you doing out here? I looked up, and Dad was standing above me. He was wearing one of my old t-shirts, a tie-dye I'd done at summer camp. I'd cut a notch in the collar to try to make it look more handmade, but it hadn't worked. On me, the shirt fit loose, but it barely covered Dad's stomach, and his belly exploded over the band of his baggy shorts like a ripe fruit about to release its seeds. I don't think that's your shirt, I said. What? He said. What? Undertow said. I asked him to hold on and put the phone speaker side down against the concrete. Dad was looking down at the shirt. I thought this fit a little tight, he said. I'm on the phone, I said. With who? Katie. She lives half a mile away. Is this how you're going to spend your summer? Doing nothing and talking on the phone? I shrugged. Dad shrugged. He started to shuffle around the garage, in the empty space where a second car should have been, and then he stepped out into the driveway. He put his hands on his hips and turned his head left to right. He'd been working in the yard earlier in the day, and his skin was dark, almost purple like a grape. It looks really dumb, I said, when you wear your socks with your flip-flops like that. Dad looked at his feet. What do you know? He said. Have you heard from your mom? I shook my head. Katie's still on the phone, so you can talk to her. This is private, Dad. This is my house, he said. I picked up the phone and got up and walked around to the front of the house. I sat on the stoop. From the corner of my eye, I could still see Dad scratching in the driveway, waving his arms around, bending over to touch his toes, turning his head left to right with deliberate, fluid motions. "Hello?" I said into the phone. "Sorry about that." Undertow was breathing hard. I could hear him typing fast, the keys clicking with an urgency that made my armpits feel sweaty. "It's okay," he said, to clear his throat. "Where did we leave off?" I said. "Are you a virgin?" he said. "It'd be nice if you were." He coughed, hoarse and hollow, like his lungs were turning inside out. He never told me his age or what he looked like, but I could guess. I pictured him. He was typing with chubby fingers attached to clammy hands, shifting in his seat, maybe drinking from a bottle of Mountain Dew. He wanted to know things about me, personal things, secrets I told myself in bed at night with the covers pulled over my head and my hands where they shouldn't be. Katie had done it so easily. She'd taken a piece of herself and put it through the phone and taken it back at the end. "Do you ever touch yourself?" "I guess." "It's a pretty specific question." "Yes," he said. Undertow sighed. "What's it like when you do that?" "It's okay. Just okay. I mean, I like it. It's nice." "Do you ever put anything up there, or do you just rub?" There was a smile in his voice. I almost felt comfortable. "I had never really thought about it," I said. There was a scratching on the line, an inconsistent banging that ended with a click. "What was that?" "I should probably get off the phone," I said. He started to laugh, that awful know-it-all chuckle, like everything was a joke and only he knew the punchline. "Well, all right, Miss Oz. Maybe I'll talk to you soon." He hung up. I sat and listened to the dial tone for a while before switching the handset off. I stuffed the phone in my pocket and went through the front door instead of going back around to the garage. I ran upstairs to my room before Dad could come around the corner. 3. Tea time. There were just a few cars and scattered around the parking lot. They looked lost, almost abandoned. There wasn't much of a place, a long, narrow hovel of wood and brick with a crumbling concrete sidewalk running in front. A detached shed marked as the office by a flickering neon sign. The fat man was in the office again, reclining in a chair. He was picking his nose. He caught me catching him in the act as I drove by, and he winked, like we now shared a secret, like we were both dirty in some way. Everything was shaded in blue by the time I parked my car and knocked on the door to room 204. Even my feet had taken on a weird tint, as if they were slipping into shadow, and the rest of me would eventually follow. Behind the door, I heard shuffling and banging until Mom let me in. She leaned on the door jamb and kept one hand on the knob, and I thought for a second she was going to snatch the bags out of my hands and shoo me away. I took a step back. "Don't," I said. Mom sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. "I'm too tired for this. Just come inside." The room was small, crowded by 2 double beds and nondescript pieces of furniture, all bathed in jaundiced light from a crooked ceiling fixture. My grandmother rested on the bed nearest the bathroom, propped up on a few pillows. The right side of her face sagged, the skin sliding downwards, forcing itself over the ledge of her jawbone. I dropped the bags and went to greet her. She didn't want to hug me at first. She looked at me like I might hurt her, her eyes wide and lips drawing back in an uncertain fear. I pried her arms loose and wrapped them around my back, and she relaxed a little. "Thank you," she said when I released her. I pulled the desk chair out from underneath the desk and sat. Mom had already gotten back on her bed. She'd strewn papers all over the faded bedspread, drugstore circulars with neat rectangular pieces cut out. She'd piled the coupons on the nightstand, glossy offerings for 50 cents off of toilet paper and tubes of Bengay. "Did you remember everything?" She didn't look at me. She turned her head towards the windows, hidden as they were behind dusty vertical blinds. "Yes," I said. "Well?" I unzipped the duffel bag and started unloading its contents onto the edge of Grandma's bed. Some clothing items, loosely knitted sweaters and fleece pants, the type of things old ladies wore when they gave up. Mom had asked that I bring her some work clothes. She described everything to me in detail, though I knew it all by heart. At home, Mom had her own walk-in closet, everything ordered and neat inside of it. I stood in there for a while, smelling her perfume, the scent trapped in the fibers of everything she wore. This was how I knew her, how every day her shoes fit me a little better, and maybe my figure would fill out her dresses the way she did. This was how she intimidated me, how even her clothing seemed to shrink away from the tips of my fingers and I reached out to touch them. While I unpacked, Mom moved to sit on the edge of her bed and inspected everything, as if to make sure each piece hadn't somehow changed in transit. Her eyes were wide and milky. She supported her head with the palm of her hand, and her fingers crept up over her face like leafless vines. "All these things," she said, but she didn't say any more. When the duffel bag was empty, I moved on to the plastic bag containing stuff from our kitchen, small pots and pans and utensils, and an electric kettle. The bag rustled in a caustic way, and the items within it clanged together in a tone-deaf orchestra. Mom picked up the kettle. "What do you think?" she said to my grandmother. "Shall we have some tea?" She went to the bathroom to fill the kettle, and I looked around the room. On the floor next to the television cabinet, I noticed a small electric hot plate with 2 burners. Next to that, a box packed with food, mostly dry goods and cans of soup. The carpet was shit brown and still visible, matted with blackened patches of who knows what. Each wall was a slightly different shade of ochre than the next. Water stains and spots of mold grew out from somewhere deep inside the plaster. Mom came out of the bathroom and plugged the kettle into the wall next to the hot plate. She took 2 teacups and matching saucers out of a drawer and placed a tea bag inside each one, filling each with water when the kettle whistled. On the saucer underneath the cups, she fanned biscuits out with a flourish. She carried one of the teacups to Grandma and helped her fold her hands around it, like Grandma was cradling the head of a flower between her cupped palms. Mom handed the other cup to me, and the saucer, and the cookies spread out in a perfect half circle, and I didn't want to eat them, I just wanted to look. "Aren't you going to have any?" I said. "I don't have much of a taste for it," she said. I dipped the cookies into my tea the way I always did and let each one turn to a hot mush in my mouth. I wanted to be at home. When I finished my tea, I got up and looked out the window. The view was of a parking lot of my beat-up car next to Mom's, and beyond that, the sign for this Roach Motel lit up like a beacon, and the freeway past it, cars shuttling east and west, making ropes of blurred light. "Katie and I might go look for jobs tomorrow," I said. "That's nice," she said. "Who will be with Grandma tomorrow when you're at work?" "She's fine by herself. She's been okay for the past month, but you can come and check on her if you like. They can give you a key." "Okay," I said. "Are you coming home soon?" "Certain circumstances prevent me from that," she said. She drew the paper closer to her face. "Everything's getting dirty," I said. "Dad just goes to the yard all the time." "So? You can clean. What do you want me to do about it?" "There's never anything to eat. Then go to the grocery store." "When are you coming home?" Mom didn't answer. I asked again. She started to sing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus" in her whining, tremulous voice. She didn't know the lyrics and muddled through the verses until she came to the chorus. Grandma caught on and started clapping along, humming the harmony through her dentures. "Okay," I said, covering my ears with my hands. "Okay, okay." Mom stopped singing. She lowered the paper and cut her eyes at me, then raised the paper up to cover her face. I bunched up the empty duffel bag and tucked it under my arm. "Bye, Grandma," I said. She looked up at me and nodded her head and looked away. I stood by Mom's bed. She said goodbye. I said goodbye as I turned to leave. She reached out for my hand. She placed a key to the room in my palm. "Be careful, okay?" Outside, everything was still except for the flicker of light from inside the office. Along the strip of rooms, only a few windows were lit up. Behind them, people did unmentionable things, things they'd be sorry for, things they'd forget. It was a Sunday night in the dead of summer, and the sound of air conditioners running throughout the motel hummed in my ears for a long time after I left. I got in my car and backed out of the parking lot. I drove home with the windows down and the radio loud because I could. Thanks.